Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer joins me today to discuss Kropz intentions to list on London's AIM, lessons from Australia, and transparency in the DMR. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Ashley.
So Kropz is hoping to list on the AIM in London and intends to fund its South African phosphate project.
Yes, they've spent a lot of money at the Western Cape Kropz Elandsfontein project already. And what they will raise is really a small amount compared to what they've already invested there. But it's a way of getting onto a listed entity so that they can continue to raise capital as needed as they go forward. So it's a very good starting point. This initial public offering on the AIM in London, carefully chosen. I mean, Ian Hairbottle has been involved with several companies that have been on what they call the AIM, the alternative investment market in London. So he believes it's a good listing, it's a good place to be quoted, it's a good place to raise capital in the sort of requirements that they will need. So we'll see how that goes. It's going to be in the second half of this year that they will list, and it's important for South Africa to go ahead with this phosphates project. I think phosphate is a very important commodity. In fact, as he put it, human beings can't survive without it. You need that, particularly in a world now that is urbanizing and there's less and less land available for agriculture. So that land that is available needs to yield. And for it to yield, it has to have the nutrients. And one of the nutrients, the key nutrients, can be provided, from the phosphates. So that's an interesting project. And also the African Rainbow Capital, headed by Patrice Motsepe, is the Black Economic Empowerment partner there. And I think they want to do something exemplary in the Western Cape. They want to make sure they use water very well because that's a very big issue. But I think they also want to show how you can add value in that sort of arena and be involved with small farmers and big farmers. So it's going to be very interesting.
And South Africa is urged to look at Australia's successful Queensland state, which has created thousands of jobs in the last 12 months.
I mean, one of the analysts described Queensland as a Mickey Mouse state next to South Africa. I mean, if you look at South Africa's mineral riches, metallic riches, we're in a far better state. And Queensland, what it is actually promoting, we've got all those minerals plus, but you can see that if you get an authority that focuses on trying to promote economic activity, jobs result. So thousands of jobs they've created in the past year. Now, it would be wonderful for our Minerals Council South Africa to be able to report that we actually jobs positive in mining, because we've been jobs negative. And if you listen to all the commentaries from the noted economists, they all say, the mining sector holds the best promise for South Africa. If you want to really create incomes for people, lift their income streams, create jobs and activity, it's the mining sector that you need to deal with. And now Queensland, one of the states in Australia, has shown that if you give the right attention to the junior miners, they come forward. And some of the employment lifts have been huge, in the 50% and 35% in the various sectors. So I think that it's something that South Africa should take into account, that you've got these minerals and metals, do your best to turn them to account, giving them some attention that creates the appetite for investors to get in there, big and small.
And lastly, the secrecy around minerals management in South Africa is actually to our detriment.
Yes, that's the thing. You've got to have this transparency and this openness. We can see it all over the place. The moment you've got that opacity, that's when the corruption sets in. But in South Africa, we've got problems with the legislative side, and we've got problems with corruption. And so they need to look at the benchmarks. There's so many benchmarks in the world of how to run an extractive industry transparently and openly and successfully. And we find African countries are bowing to this. They're bowing to things like the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, ET. We said, no, that's below our status. We're above that. I mean, you don't have to use that. Is that so? From what we've seen, we do need to use these international benchmarks. There's also the Natural Resource Governance Institute. It'll come around and give you the right measurements for what you should have there so that people know what's going on in your industry. There's also the International Monetary Fund on the finance side that can give you that transparency. But we need transparency even in the announcements. We don't know who's got a mining right. Because it's been so secretive, mining rights have been given out to several different people. The same area of ground has been dished out to various people because there's so much secrecy. What should happen is that on the website of the Department of Mineral Resources, the moment they award a right of any kind, they should just list it. Is that going to be that difficult? It'll give someone else a job. And then they need a cadastre system where when you want to see what's available, you can just sit at your desk and find out. Africa's way ahead of us. The world is way ahead. And there's still somnambulance here and still secrecy, which has to be pushed aside. Hopefully, as they discuss the charter, they'll deal with that as well, because we need some action on this front. We need some action in the economy in South Africa. We've got to grow. We've got a lot of people that need jobs. We've got a lot of people that need higher incomes. And we've got costs that are quite onerous at the moment. I mean, when I looked at the breakdown of that petrol price, I mean, we're paying so much more than everybody else in the world at the moment, it seems. There's a lot of taxes behind there. There's a lot of sort of hidden costs going left, right, and center. And when I look, all right, Venezuela is a failed state, but when you look at what they're paying for petrol, wow. Down in the 11 cents sort of arena. I remember my dad used to pull up in his 1938 Chev, and we used to have Satmar at that stage, petrol. That was made in South Africa from our coal, like before Sasol. And my dad would pull up and he'd say, can I have a shilling's worth of petrol? And they'd fill the tank, and those tanks were quite big in a 1938 Chev. I mean, it was like next to nothing. You could get sixpence worth of petrol. And I see that's still happening in some other countries that have got their own fuel as a resource. We've got coal. We've got the brains. We know how to get diesel. We know how to get petrol. We know how to get chemicals out of coal. Why don't we do more of that? We could have saved ourselves from this impact of the price being dominated outside the country. And even if we do keep our own price at the international level, it means that the money's staying in the country, not going out.
Thanks for speaking with us.
It's a great pleasure, Sashni.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on South Africa's mining industry.